Here we have my jigsaw. I honestly can't remember where I got this, but I know I didn't pay for it. It's important to keep it oiled up. Right now I have a metal blade in here. This is good for cutting round holes or odd shaped holes. Anywhere you can't fit a normal saw, the jigsaw will do the trick for you. Kind of loud. I keep the extra bits in here. You can see the ones with the giant teeth. That's for cutting human flesh or wood, you know, not metal. The ones with the little teeth here, like you see, that's for metal. So you got to keep them straight, and you really don't want to use if you use a wood blade on metal, you'll really wreck the teeth on it. And same thing with the metal. It's not good for cutting wood. It's not good. And something like this, you don't want to lose it. And it's difficult to keep track of this sucker, even though it's neon green. Here we have a smaller skill saw. Battery operated rechargeable saw. It's a great tool. Not so great for cutting real thick wood, but it's perfect for smaller cuts. Now, I like to avoid using this whenever possible. It is pretty quiet as opposed to the giant skill saw. There's a great story about this, but involving a bucket of feces and urine that I opened. But this is really loud, and this sucker, if it's like 3:30 in the morning, and you know I don't want to welcome to the jungle outside, ying ying, you know, we'll go and set this up inside and try to make some quieter cuts, not to, you know, get 911 call on us. This motor here I converted into a grinder with just a base and a switch. It had this pulley assembly that came apart. I didn't realize that. And I bought the two of these motors for $5 from an old guy in Bridgeview who wouldn't go down on the price or sell me just the one. He was real nasty to me. This is a great motor, son. This came from a submarine, and I, you know, hand built it. But so we went to Home Depot, and I asked the guy, you know, what do I use to attach this grinding wheel that we're buying for? It was like $8 to this shaft, and he was like, let me get Joe. So we went and got Joe, an even older, angrier man. And he looked me right in the eye and said, why in the world would you ever want to make a grinder? And I explained to him, because I'm cheap and I enjoy, you know, making stuff. And then he goes, well, to come to think of it, I made a grinder too when I was little. And I go, well, how did you attach the thing, you know? And he goes, I don't know. So we went home. I said, I'll figure something out. In here there's an Allen wrench. This is an adjustable pulley for different belts. And it fit perfect on the inside diameter of this grinding wheel. So as you can see, it's a heavy duty grinder. Absolutely just works fantastic. It's pretty quiet. And like I said, I do try to use my smaller heavy grinder as much as possible because this is a little heavy. But this thing, it has saved my ass so many times for modification and fabricating parts. Now, back to the saws. Worst case scenario saw. You got your super rip saw. This is actually called a Sawzall, and it's got a wood blade on here now, but there's metal blade taped to it. Keeps it handy. But this is a real nasty thing. Looks like something you'd find in a serial killer's toolkit for breaking down bodies. And it really has a lot of kick to it, but it'll cut anything, any awkward position. This is a worst case scenario thing. It's like, honey, get that, whatever, that terrible saw. And then my wife brings me that one. So it works out good. Now, if we're cutting plastic, we use this technique called the hot knife. It's an old Swiss Army knife. I got this on here to hold on to it. Fire up your click torch, you get this nice and hot, and then you go ahead and cut all day. Now I try to run a little fan. I keep this 2-speed fan clipped onto my fluorescent desk light, and then there's a switch for it that I hit. So whenever we're soldering or cutting plastic, we run that fan so we can we don't have to inhale all the cancerous fumes. Works out pretty good. Just got to let this cool off. You don't want to get in a hurry and burn yourself. Moving along, I've got this hobby vise. Someone threw this guy away. I couldn't believe it. It weighs about 8 pounds. Actually, just a beautiful little guy. And it had been painted. Built a solder dispenser and a tape caddy. And also, it features this handy soldering iron holder for in between cuts. You can let it sit here kick your soldering iron down to low or turn it on high, and then resume soldering. So you got your handy solder here. This is mini vise, great for holding stuff together. You know, if you're soldering, you put something in there. A lot of times you need 3 or 4 arms when you're doing this type of work. So this helps out quite a bit. Great little station here. I've got this wire wheel here, and this is what I clean the soldering iron with, because it gunks up constantly. Gets this black stuff on there, which lowers the temperature enough where it doesn't want to solder. It's amazing. Kind of frustrating how much you have to keep cleaning that. Now this is the oil cup. Put a little vegetable oil in here, and when we're drilling metal, we dip, every time we drill, we dip the bit in there. You can also use a syringe, but this is quicker if you're going to be doing a real lot. It's made out of a Walmart primer spray paint lid. I just cut it out, popped a couple screws in there, and then we got the oil in there. So the oil cup works fantastic, and it'll save you, putting that oil on there will save you from breaking drill bits. Very important. You don't want to break all your bits, you know. It's always the small ones that break, and that stinks. So we are going to take a quick cut and move on.